Hi, welcome back to another paint along lesson. I'm Wilson Bickford, professional artist and art instructor, and I'm going to show you some tricks of my trade using my signature product line, my oil painting line. I've been showing you a lot of lessons that feature fir trees, conifer trees, needle trees, whatever you want to call them. I thought today for something different we'd do something with deciduous or leaf type trees. Those, if you're going to paint landscapes, you got to know how to do all types of trees, so I figured that'd be a good lesson. Let me show you what I've got up here so far. I'm going to be using one of my Bickford bevel edge canvases, and I have mounted this to just an old canvas panel. You could use a piece of masonite, piece of paneling, piece of cardboard. What I did was I laid it down like this on my work surface. With a screw gun, I put a couple of screws in the stretcher bars, one on top, one on bottom, to secure that. That allows me to set it on my easel, and I have totally unencumbered freedom of movement around to paint all the edges. I don't have to worry about setting the canvas on the easel, because this is very hard to set on the easel, obviously, if you're going to paint all four edges. It'll come out looking like this when it's all done. It'll be very three-dimensional, 3D, and you won't need to frame it. They're very unique canvas. You ought to give those a shot. I'm going to be using my signature oils and brushes today. My oil paints are very thick and firm, full-bodied. The idea is to put thicker paints down as your foundation layer, and then you can subsequently thin down the other layers that go on top, which will bond, and that gives us a way to put many layers on top of a wet canvas and do it all in one sitting. This is known as fast and fun painting, so that's exactly what it is. This speeds up the process. I'm also going to be using some of my white base medium. This comes in two formulations. There's one that's a traditional oil formula, and then there's one that's an alkyd base that dries a little quicker. So if you want your paints to dry a little faster, I'd recommend the quick drying version. I've got some fast flow white medium out here like I just mentioned. I also have some fast flow clear to help me thin down my subsequent layers that I had talked about. On my palette I have ultramarine blue, sap green, emerald green hue, cadmium yellow pale, Van Dyke brown, burnt sienna, and titanium white. As far as tools and brushes today, what I'm planning on using is my 2-inch scenery brush, my 1-inch scenery brush, my number 3 fan brush. Maybe the 1-inch mop brush will get a little play today too, I'm not sure, but I've got it here just in case. And my small painting knife, and my number 2 script liner. Okay, let's get at this. I have a general plan in mind. I'm just going to kind of wing this, but I have a general layout in my head of what I want to do on here. That's the nice part of painting. Once you paint enough, you'll have freedom to just be able to compose these scenes in your mind, and once you have it squared away in your mind, you can actually put it on your canvas. I find it's best to have some sort of plan of attack. I should mention too, I have a couple pieces of paper up here, so when I'm all done I can remove the paper, because this is going to get a little dirty up here on the top edge. So I'll pull the paper out just so you can kind of really discern where the edges of this canvas are. I'll turn this around. You're not going to be able to see underneath or this back side where I'm painting right now, so I will present that full frontal to the camera for your viewing angle when I'm all done with this, to give you a better understanding of what this canvas looks like. The idea is to put on a very thin coat, work it right into the tooth of the canvas. The tooth just means all those little bumps and hills and gullies in the canvas. That's your tooth, as it's called. It's the surface. These are kind of a medium surface. They're really good for all techniques and all mediums as far as oils, acrylics, alkyds, caseins, that sort of thing. And notice how I'm really working this in. You want to scrub in a very thin, even coat. It doesn't take a lot, but you have to have adequate coverage. But just enough so you can tell that the whole thing is covered. Now see, I started out by scrubbing in, and then I ultimately just kind of finish it off with overlapping horizontal and vertical strokes, just to make sure it's evenly distributed. There should be a nice, soft, subtle shine to it by the time you get that applied. Now just to show you, give you a heads up of what I'm doing with this, I'm going to take a little ultramarine blue on my fan brush, just enough to say so. Somewhere in here I'm going to need a horizon line. I'm seeing a sky with a distant background of trees Maybe a little water up front here. Everybody likes to know how to paint water. This is going to be one of the simplest ways to paint water, yet very effective. Somewhere up in here I'm going to have some deciduous trees leaning out on either side and some distant hill in the background there, just to kind of give you an idea where I'm headed with this. I hope you really try this out. Painting is an absolutely fantastic hobby or profession, depending on how far you want to take it. It's one of those things that I think is more or less a learned skill, not necessarily talent you have to be born with. I surely wasn't born with it. I had to work and paint a lot and get a lot of practice in to do what I'm doing now. But that doesn't mean that you can't make leaps and bounds in short order. By that I mean to be a professional artist. You know, I've painted a lot through the years, but beginners can have really good success with this approach. It's something you can learn quickly, and your progress is going to be evident in the early stages. You'll see the improvement right off the bat. Okay, now I'm going to paint this a little blotchily, is my favorite word. That's probably not really a word. By that I mean I'm not just going to paint it straight blue. If I paint it straight blue, it's going to look flat like the wall behind me. So see, if I just kind of roll and twist and scrub the brush around, as I come lower towards my horizon line, I'm using less pressure on the brush. Notice I haven't put any more paint on the brush. I'm using that one load of paint. The fact is I'm losing the blue off the brush, and I'm picking up more of the white base coat, which is making it get lighter already. And I'm controlling that a little further by using much less pressure down here as I go lower. Aerial perspective says that the lower sky, anything in the distance as far as that goes, but including the sky, will be a little lighter value the farther away it is. This is the sky that's more directly overhead. This is the sky that's further away above the horizon. Okay, now see, it's pretty easy to get a fairly nice looking sky right there. I'm going to come back and soften this out a little bit. To do that, I'm just going to simply wipe my brush off. Take all the excess paint out of that brush. I could wash it, but I really don't need to. If I have paint on my brush, I'm going to be painting. If I wipe it off and it's fairly clean, I can blend with it. I tell my students that all the time. If you want to blend, clean your brush off. I'm not a big brush washer because I've found through the years that a lot of times you don't have to. It depends on if I had a really dark color on here and I was going to something light, I would have to stop and wash it. But see, I'm pretty much using the same color, and I'm not scrubbing real hard. I'm doing more or less a soft blending procedure, so I really didn't need to stop and wash it. I like to make things easier, so anything I can find to make it a little easier, a little simpler, a little quicker, that's the route I go. Okay, my motto is paint smart, not hard. While I've got that on the brush, let's do this. I'm going to put some water in this painting, like I said. So let's take a little more of that same blue. I'm going to start way down here. This is just ultramarine blue. Blue is one of my favorite colors. That's why my brush handles are blue. The packaging on my paint tubes and canvases are blue. Blue is just my all-time favorite color. Painting is all about color. So don't be afraid to live on the edge once in a while and really put some nice dramatic color in your paintings. I'm going to let this grade and get lighter towards that horizon line, just like I have done with the sky. The sky was darker at the top, lighter towards the center of the canvas as it came down. This is going to be darker near the bottom and lighter near the horizon as I go up. So everything converges towards that horizon line, but notice it's a lighter value back there. That makes this area back here look distant already, and I haven't even done anything to it yet. Since this is the closest area to me, excuse me, I can make this even a little darker. There, see what I meant about putting some color on your canvas? Look at that. That really jumps off there. It's easy to make a wishy-washy painting. It doesn't take too much more to make one that's a little more interesting, it's got a little more impact, and really going to speak to your viewers. Don't be afraid to throw some color on here. It's just paint and canvas. If we don't like it, we can wipe it off and paint over it, cover it up, whatever we've got to do.